Chapter 16. Lissa got a new video game called Battle Tennis, so I went up to her apartment to help her try it out. She's a good tennis player, and I'm good at war games, so it was a pretty close match. Her apartment is bigger than mine. Her brother and sister each have a room of their own, but the two little kids didn't disappear to their rooms. They hung out with us in Lissa's room and pestered us until we turned the game controllers over to them. They like a game called Rock Guitar Dance Party. It's the only game they play, and they always get into huge screaming fights over it. We went into the kitchen and grabbed 2 Cokes and a bag of tortilla chips. Then we sat across from each other on tall stools at the kitchen counter. I could hear the 2 kids already arguing over the game down the hall. "Little monsters," Lissa chuckled. "Speaking of monsters," I started. She rolled her eyes. "Now what? Are you going to tell me you're seeing monsters again?" "Listen to me," I said, "and stop crunching the chips so loud. I can't hear myself talk." "Grouchy much?" she said. "Are you coming to my swim meet on Friday?" "Don't change the subject," I said. "I want you to come watch me swim Friday. You're such a loser, Bean. You could have been on the boys' team. You could have had a good time. It's way more fun than sneaking around looking for monsters." I jumped off the kitchen stool. "Did you just call me a loser?" Her cheeks turned pink. "I meant it in a nice way." "Lissa, someone put a dead gerbil in my room." Lissa stopped chewing. She stared at me. She took a long sip from her soda can, eyeing me the whole time. "Bean, a dead gerbil in your room?" "On my desk. Dead. Totally stiff," I said. "Someone put it there. Do you believe it? Someone killed a gerbil and put it in my room." She blinked. "Are you sure it didn't die of natural causes?" She tossed her head back and burst out laughing. "How funny are you?" I said. "Not?" "Maybe it wandered from the street and had a heart attack when it saw your room." She laughed some more. "Great friend," I muttered. "Big joke, ha ha." She forced herself to stop laughing. "I'm sorry, really. Whoever did it scrawled 2 words on my desk. Monsters rule." She took another long drink from the soda can. "So someone was messing with you. Someone who knows you're afraid of monsters. Any idea who?" "Monroe," I said. She rolled her eyes again. "Always Monroe. Bean, I thought you wanted him to be your new best friend." "I do want him to be my new best friend. But not if he keeps turning into a hairy monster." She chuckled. "What if he's a friendly monster?" "Lissa, stop making jokes," I snapped. "It isn't funny. You wouldn't like it if someone came into your room and left a dead animal there." She patted my shoulder. "Sorry." She stared at me while she chewed some more tortilla chips. "I have an idea, Bean." I frowned at her. "What kind of idea?" "Why don't you just go up to Monroe and ask him if he's a monster?" "Ugh," I let out a cry. "Great idea," I said. "Great way to lose a friend forever. What if I ask him the question and he isn't a monster? He'll think I'm crazy." "Everyone already thinks you're crazy," Lissa said. "Oh, wow, you're going to bring up the swimming pool thing again." "Just saying." "What am I going to do?" I cried. I slammed my Coke can on the counter. Last night, the monster in my dream pointed at me and growled, "You're next. You're next." What does that mean? Does some monster want to kill me? I think I'm really in danger, Lissa. Her expression turned serious. "Wish I could help you," she said softly. Then her eyes grew wide. I realized she wasn't looking at me. She was staring over my shoulder. Before I could turn around, she opened her mouth in a scream of horror. Chapter 17. I spun around. I stared at the kitchen doorway. No one there. Lissa dropped off the kitchen stool. She pointed. I saw it. It was there." I stared at the empty doorway. "What? You saw what?" "Quick, Bean!" She grabbed my hand and pulled me into the hall. We looked both ways. No one there. I could hear the little kids dancing to their dance party game. "Lissa, I don't see anything." She trotted to the front door and checked the lock. "I saw it. The monster. It was here. Bean, it followed you." I swallowed hard. I suddenly felt cold all over. "You saw it? Really?" She nodded. Her whole body shuddered. It was big and hairy. Covered in dark fur, like a gorilla or something, only its eyes were human. Red eyes. It looked ugly. Ugly and mean. 1,000 questions spun through my mind. But how did it get in, Lissa? Where did it go? She shrugged. "It appeared and then it disappeared, but I saw it. I believe you now, and I believe it followed you here." "You mean, you finally think it's real?" She nodded. She squeezed my arm. "You didn't make it up? It was real?" She pressed her back against the wall. I could see she was thinking hard. "Maybe it is Monroe. Monroe lives in this building. He knows I live here too. Maybe he followed you. What am I going to do? I stammered. Follow him, she answered. Huh? What do you mean? Follow Monroe. Spy on him. Watch him when he thinks no one is watching. Because I have to prove he's a monster. Yes, you have to prove it. You have to see if you're right about him. I nodded, thinking hard. There's only one problem with that, I told her. Problem? Yeah. What if I am right? What then? Chapter 18. Have you ever been to Lissa's apartment? I asked Monroe. It was the next morning and we were walking to school. Harlan had already bombed up to us. He said he was going to give us both a break today, so he took both of our lunches. We watched helplessly as he ran off, laughing like a maniac. Sweet guy. I'd been thinking about my plan to spy on Monroe and learn the truth about him. As we walked along Elm Street, I felt kind of jumpy. Excited, but not a good kind of excited. Just tense. Monroe scratched his cheek. No, never been to her apartment. It's on 6, right? How did he know the floor Lissa lived on? I nodded. Yeah, it's nice. It has a long hall with lots of rooms. Bigger than my apartment. I squinted at him, trying to read his thoughts. You never been there? No. Lissa seems nice, but she never talks to me. We let a school bus rumble past. Then we crossed the street. I remembered the first time I saw the monster, running toward the school entrance. It was in a flash of bright sunlight. Yes, the sun was so bright I had to blink, and when I could focus again, I saw the monster. Let's cross the street, I said. I tugged him by the arm. He pulled back. Why? We never walk on that side. It's sunnier, I said. I just feel like a little sun. If we walk in the bright sunlight, maybe you'll turn furry again. I pulled him across the street. The morning sun was still low in the sky, and it was blindingly bright. I blinked a few times, just the way I had the first time. I shut my eyes for a few seconds, and when I opened them, Monroe looked exactly the same. No fur, no monster. I felt disappointed and relieved, all at the same time. It made my stomach feel funny, like all churned up. I don't like spying on my friends, but what choice did I have? You're next. You're next. I couldn't get that growled threat out of my ears. I heard it over and over, and each time it gave me a chill. In class, it was easy to keep an eye on Monroe because he sat at the desk right next to me. We had quiet reading hour just before lunch. I was reading a book called The Call of the Wild. I like animal stories, and this was a great one about a dog. Suddenly, I gasped when I heard Monroe let out a growl. My book fell onto the desk. I turned, expecting him to be furry. He grinned at me and rubbed his stomach. Can you hear my stomach growling? He whispered. I'm so hungry. Mine is growling too, I lied. His stomach growled again. Too bad Harlan stole our lunches, he muttered. He went back to his book. I glanced at the cover. He was reading Frankenstein. Later, I borrowed some money from Lissa and bought lunch for me and Monroe. I watched him eat his ham sandwich and bag of potato chips. He didn't do anything unusual. Some kids at the next table were having a burping contest. It made Monroe smile, but he didn't join in. I never took my eyes off him. I looked for any sign, but he didn't do anything the tiniest bit monsterish. Lissa stepped up beside me in the hall after lunch. How's it going? She whispered. Nothing yet, I said. Keep watching him, Bean. Don't give up. You have to know the truth, right? Right. She grabbed my arm. But be careful. Don't let him know you're spying on him. No way, I said. What would he do if he knew? I tried to be careful. Whenever Monroe glanced my way, I pretended to be watching something else. I was totally tense, but I tried to seem perfectly calm and normal. Are you enjoying the Frankenstein book? I asked him. It's kind of hard to read, he said, but I like monster stories. Really? Not much of a clue. I mean, lots of people like monster stories, including me. The day dragged by without anything interesting happening, until gym class late that afternoon. Coach Waller had a bunch of us guys playing a basketball game at one end of the gym. It was shirts and skins, and I was happy to be on the skins team because it was steamy and hot in the gym. Monroe played on the other team. He was a very aggressive player. He kept bumping and shouldering and even headbutting other players. I could see Waller watching him from the sidelines. Monroe was playing harder than anyone else. He was a total ball hog. He kept driving to the basket and never passed the ball to another teammate. He took shot after shot and sank most of them. I was surprised. I'd never thought of him as being a sports dude. Sweat matted his thick hair and poured down his forehead. His face was bright red, and he kept making grunting sounds as he ran up and down the court. Is this a clue?
Is he finally going to reveal himself? Whoa! I missed a pass. It bounced off my chest because I had my eye on Monroe. Bean, are you a klutz or a super klutz? A kid named Arnie shouted. Both, I said. It was supposed to be a joke, but no one laughed. I shoved my arms out to block Monroe, but he dribbled right past me as if I were invisible. Kids cheered as he dropped another basket. Then, to my surprise, he walked right off the basketball floor. His chest was heaving up and down because he was breathing really hard. He had his eyes on the locker room door. This is it, I told myself. I'm about to get my proof. Yes, it was just a hunch, but it was a strong hunch. As I saw Monroe slump into the locker room, I knew he was about to turn into a monster and do something weird. I tossed the ball to Arnie, gave the players a little wave, and trotted to the locker room. Back in a minute, I called to Coach Waller. I grabbed the door handle and pulled the locker room door open just a crack. I didn't want Monroe to know I was following him. I peered inside. The air was cooler in there. The locker room was nearly dark. I could hear showers running in the back. I stepped inside and closed the door silently behind me. I didn't see Monroe in the row of gym lockers. The back of my neck began to tingle. A drop of sweat fell from my nose. I realized I was holding my breath. I stepped on tiptoe toward the back of the dressing room. I stopped when I heard the shuffle of sneakers in the next row of lockers. I waited, and then I heard a scream. A high, shrill shriek of pain. And I knew the monster has attacked someone.